The love that goes abroad to air itself, and is undiscoverable at home, is not love, it is vanity. Have I not seen, O pitiful sight, the cheerless home and neglected children of the misguided missioner and religionist? It is on such self-delusion as this that self-pity and self-martyrdom ever wait, and its self-inflicted misery is regarded by the deluded one as holy and religious burden which he or she is called upon to bear. Only a great man can do great work, and he will be great wherever he is, and will do his noble work under whatsoever circumstances he may find himself, when he has unfolded and revealed that work. Thou who art so anxious to work for humanity, to help thy fellow men, begin that work at home. Help thyself, thy neighbor, thy wife, thy child. Do not be deluded until thou doest, with utmost faithfulness, the nearer and the lesser thou canst not do, the farther and greater. If a man has lived many years of his life in lust and selfish pleasure, it is the order of things that his accumulated errors should weigh at last heavily upon him, as until they are thus brought home to him, he will not abandon them. He will not exert himself to find a better life, but whilst he regards his self-made, self-imposed burdens as holy crosses imposed upon him by the Supreme, or as marks of spiritual virtue, or as loads with fate, circumstances, or other people have heaped undeservedly and unjustly upon him, he is but lengthening out his folly, increasing the weight of his burdens, and multiplying his pains and sorrows. Only when such a man wakes up to the truth that his burdens are of his own making, that they are the accumulated effects of his own acts, will he cease from unmanly self-pity and find the better way of burden-dropping. Only when he opens his eyes to see that every thought and act is another brick, another stone, built into the temple of his life, will he develop the insight which will enable him to recognize his own unstable handiwork, the unflinching manliness to acknowledge it, and the courage to build more nobly and enduringly. Painful burdens are necessary, but only so long as we lack love and wisdom. The temple of blessedness lies beyond the outer courts of suffering and humiliation, and to reach it, the pilgrim must pass through the outer courts. For a time he will linger in the outer, but only so long as, through his own imperfect understanding, he mistakes it for the inner. While he pities himself and confounds suffering with holiness, he will remain in suffering. But when casting off the last unholy rag of self-pity, he perceives that suffering is a means and not an end, that it is a state self-originated and self-propagated, then converted and right-minded, he will rapidly pass through the outer courts and reach the inner abode of peace. Suffering does not originate in the perfect, but in the imperfect. It does not mark the complete, but the incomplete. It can, therefore, be transcended. Its self-born cause can be found, investigated, comprehended, and forever removed. It is true, therefore, that we must pass through agony to rest, through loneliness to peace. But let the sufferer not forget, it is a passing through, that the agony is a gateway, and not a habitation, that the loneliness is a pathway, and not a destination, and that a little farther on, he will come to the painless and blissful repose. Little by little is a burden accumulated. Imperceptibly and by degrees is its weight increased. A thoughtless impulse, a gross self-indulgence, a blind passion yielded to and gratified again and again, an impure thought fostered, a cruel word uttered, a foolish thing done time after time, and at last the gathered weight of many follies becomes oppressive. At first and for a time the weight is not felt, but it is being added to day after day, and the time comes when the accumulated burden is felt in all its galling weight, when the bitter fruits of selfishness are gathered, and the heart is troubled with the weariness of life. When this period arrives, let the sufferer look to himself. Let him search for the blessed way of burden dropping, finding which he will find wisdom to live better, purity to live sweeter, love to live nobler, will find, in the reversal of that conduct by which his burdens were accumulated, light-hearted nights and days, cheerful action, and unclouded joy. Come out of the world, come above it, up over its crosses and graves. Though the green earth is fair, and I love it, we must love it as masters, not slaves. Come up where the dust never rises, but only the perfume of flowers, and your life shall be glad with surprises of beautiful hours.